Hi, students and alumni. This is Susan with Career Services. Doing something a little bit different today, and I'm learning as I go too, but we're going to talk about references and how you provide references to an employer or to a grad school. And most of the time, what you're going to do is refer to the employer's or the grad school's guidance on this. There's, there's, they do prefer it in a certain way. Most of the time, they prefer a separate piece of paper of a number of references when they ask for it. And that is not usually at the same time as the resume. So when it comes to work, the process is going to be like this. You apply for the work. You could apply for the work online or in person. You submit your cover letter and resume. You are offered, hopefully, an interview. You go to the interview. You can take references and letters of references or recommendations with you to the interview. It's a really great idea, and it has helped me in the past with getting a job. I would say that you need to, again, review how the employer wants it. So it could be a list of 3 people, 4 people, or 5 people, and it may be submitted at the time you submit an application, but on a separate piece of paper. It's a separate document from the resume again. There's really no going around that. That is the way that it is nowadays. And so even though you'll see some old, um, let's see, examples of resumes that say references upon request, it's just redundant, actually, because the employer will tell you if they want to see your references. It goes without saying that you will supply those references, so you don't need to tell them that. And again, it's going to be when they ask you to submit them. So an online application, again, may ask for it at the same time that you upload a cover letter and a resume, but it will be a separate document. You want to name it your name, references, and the date. I wouldn't be so specific as to the day, but you should definitely put the date, the month, and the year in the file name of this document so you can easily find it in the future. And then you're going to upload that too. When it comes to, I mentioned something about going to an interview and taking a copy of it then. A lot of times people really like that. And so you need to prepare this list of references to have with your application documents so it's ready when you are asked to submit it. Okay, so choose professional references rather than character references. Okay, when we're talking about applying for housing, for instance, and you're applying with a landlord is going to want to know who have you rented from in the past. They may want to know about your roommates, and they may ask you to give the names of roommates so that those roommates can testify to your character. Do you maintain the house that you're living in? Do you keep things cleaned up? Do you um, readily report damages or any kind of repairs and maintenance to the landlord? That kind of thing. That's about character. When it comes to a professional reference, those people are going to be supervisors, co-workers, and professors who know you and your work ethics. So those are the best people. Now, work ethics. Yes, your supervisors are going to know your work ethics, former supervisors. However, again, it depends on what you're being asked for. So if you're filling out an online application where the specific information about past employment is requested, including the dates, the types of job duties you had, the job title, where it was at. Okay, those normally request the name of your supervisor and the phone number. So this gives you an opportunity to put different people on a reference list. And by different people, I mean, in the case of work, a former co-worker who can talk to or speak to who you are as a worker and what your work ethics are like. Just graduating from college, you will want to have as many professors that you know who know you well provide letters of recommendation for you or letters of reference to you. Then there's a couple of ways of going about that. So you may ask if you can use them as a reference, and then you will be just putting their name and information on a document that is going to be called references. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. But right here, so we see Dr. Strauss's name. It's her name using the appropriate title of doctor. It is her job title, where at the University of Montana Western, where in Dillon, Montana, and her phone number and her email address. This way, anybody who would want to make a phone call to Dr. Strauss and ask about you as a student will have the information that they need. As I mentioned before, reference lists should be on a separate page. They are not part of a resume. And you do want to ask the professors that you talk to if you can use them as a reference before you just, submit information about them and their phone numbers to either grad schools or employment places. It's just real important to do that. I also think that at the same time you do that, you can share your resume with them so that if they do get a phone call, they can be prepared to talk to employers and grad schools and refer to your resume for reference, actually, in speaking about you. So that's a really kind thing, I guess, and a considerate thing to do for the person you're asking to give you a reference. So when it comes to letters of reference or letters of recommendation, of course, a letter of recommendation is going to be specific. I do quite a lot of those. So it might say student so-and-so, or it's actually going to say, I gladly or happily recommend student ABC to your grad school program and can feel they would be an asset to this program. Something like that. I'm just ad-libbing it, obviously. Definitely I'm a better writer than I am a speaker. So anyway, you get the idea. That's a letter of recommendation that you would be asking your professor for. But a letter of reference can be used in the future. It may be in the form of a letter of recommendation. It's very similar, but it's not going to recommend you to a specific grad school program or a specific job opening. It's going to be more general to the person that you are, the work ethics again, and that would include your ethics in academia, which you can imagine would be important to a grad school. They want to know, are you a serious and committed student who is accountable for the work that they do? That's really important to grad schools. So I think you get the difference between these two types. And I'm going to show you how you can create a reference list that can be added to an online job application or handed to an interviewer when you go to interview at grad school or when you go to interview for a job. All right, so I'm just going to go to the next one here. I'm not narrating over the slides this time. I'm sharing my Zoom meeting with you and narrating this way. So a little complicated, but this is really the best way to show you. All right, so I'm looking here at this this slide. So what I have here is I've inserted a Word document on top of a slide so that I can demonstrate this for you and you'll be able to look at it later. All right, so I'm going to, first of all, I always do no spacing. I don't know how it works for you best, but this definitely works for me best because I want to be in control of my spacing, and some places I do want it single spaced, and some places I want 4 spaces, and some I would just want 2. So when it comes to setting up a document, I always start with no spacing, and then I format spacing after. Also, I'd like to see as many words on one piece of paper as possible. So this helps me attain that. I'm going to put all caps lock. I'm in the center. Did you see I marked this center? Okay. And also, even though I'm in PowerPoint, this is the toolbar for Word, which is again because I inserted a Word document here in my PowerPoint itself. So references. All right. I'm also going to do some formatting stuff, but I want you to format this page just in the same font, similar size as you would your resume and cover letter. So if you put your contact information on your resume in the header space, that's what you're going to do here too. This is not the header space. This is the first line of the document that it has a 1-inch margin all the way around. And so I definitely am getting away from that kind of, this is called sans serif. There's no serif. This is a serif. This has these little marks on the letters that make it easier for a person to read. You don't get confused with ones, L's, I's, etc., etc., etc. So choose a font with a serif that you will be happy with, and it could be your Times New Roman, which is really, by the way, why universities require that mostly for their papers and assignments and research work. It's very simple. It's easy to read. Boom. All right. I'm also going to bold it. And I have about, it says 11. I'm going to bump that up. I'm going to go for 14 right now because this is the title of a page, and I'm determining what the formatting is here. It's not like a reference page for an APA research paper. This is not the same as that. This is your own stationery, and so you want to keep this professional looking, but you do have some say on how it looks. So the first thing I'm going to do here, and I hope this works for me, is that I want to look at the page layout. And now that I have that centered, I'm going to change this to left, but I'm also going to do a right click here. Let's see, actually I'm going to do it over here. You can see how that looks. I want my ruler. Okay, and maybe, oh, there it is at the top. Okay, awesome. All right, so now I'm going to go back to here and I can see it right here too. So I'm going to go page layout. I'm going to check my margins. And I'm going to, for right now, just dump something in there. Let's make my left margin. I kind of like it. I like it at 2.5. Let's see what that does. 2, 1. Oh, here, let's just do that. 2.5. It doesn't matter what the bottom is. Oh, that should be the left. Oops, wrong place. Right, 1.0, 2.5. And I'm not going to worry about the right because we'll probably adjust this, but I need to set something up first. All right, here we go. All right, so now it's smaller because I don't need to show you all that white space. And my margin at this point, like I said, I can adjust it. So I'm going to just make up some names here. I do like Miss, whoops, Jane Austen. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, Cherry Lane. What are we going to make it up? Okay, well, we know she was. Let's go ahead and say London. Why not? UK, and then they have, there's zip codes, which are lots longer than ours, postal code anyway. And then I'm going to put in a phone number, 011 and dash 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. And then the next space, it's going to be Jane A at Gmail. Okay, there's my first entry. Okay, and then let's go ahead and write to Miss Mary, Ennis, period, Miss Mary Poppins. She lives on, what was that song? Something, Jane and Michael Banks. I can't remember. But anyway, let's make up something else. Oh, golly. So 123. I like Cherry Lane, but we'll call this Apple Blossom. Apple Blossom Road. And that's also in, let's write Surrey. Why not? And UK. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 011 dash 111 dash 987 654 321. All right, so I've got 2. And then I'm going to put one more. Uhtred. You've been watching Last Kingdom? Uhtred Ragnarsson. Oh, come on, space. Ragnarsson. Oh, where's he at? He's a Dane, right? So that would be, well, let's say, oh yeah, Bebbanburg. But what road is this going to be on? Sherwood Forest. Let's just make that one up. Sorry, I have to make this fun. And then that's going to be Bebbanburg. And we think that is probably up in Denmark. And I'm not sure of the country code because I think DE is Germany. So is it DK or something like that? We'll just say that's what it is for Denmark. And 000 XXX 000. 011. Bebenberg is 555, and then 56, 57, 58, 59. Okay. So now I have 3 people, and I'm just going to do a quick save on this. Excuse me. So sorry. And now I'm going to click off of that, and I'm just going to put this up here. So if I wanted to move this over a little bit more, this is what I would do here. I would add a few more spaces down here. I'm going to select everything, which is a Control A. Oops, no, but I didn't want to do that actually. I'm going to have to do it by hand. Select all of this stuff. And I want to make my, I don't know if it's going to let me select it that way. It doesn't look like it is. So let's go back to page layout. And I just would like to move that over a tad. So last custom setting. Oh, margins, let's do it again. Custom margins. Let's move that over to, see if it's going to go. Let's do 3.5. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, I like that a little bit better. When you're in Word, though, you can change your margins right here. There's one thing I could do is increase the, oh yeah, that totally works too, right? That's what's so awesome about. I like the Microsoft Office suite. We can do quite a few different things in many different ways, okay? So you're going to get that fairly centered. So what I'm looking at here is where this name is lining up this way and where this far right is lining up. So I think I need to do a little bit more indenting and get it more towards, okay, I like that. That looks fairly centered. So I'm looking at the cursor point. This is the center. This side and that side, you can see it is spot on, basically. Now, so what I would do now is say, move it down a bit so I can get it in the lighter space and you can see that better. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is save this, and I'm going to save it specifically as 3 references 05 2020 and put it in a folder entitled References. In the future, you might be asked to have 4 references or 5 references. So in fact, you could change that folder to say references and letters of recommendation or letters of reference, because you will be getting those as well. So that's it. I hope that was entertaining. I had fun doing that, and I know now kind of how I can do about 4 different things at once. I'm going to go down to the last slide. If you have any questions, come in and talk to us at Career Services, the Career Services Assistant, or myself, Susan. We will be able to help you with any questions that we may not have talked about in these presentations. So hope to see you soon. And what I'm going to do now, just to follow through, is I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to load this up on the course page for Moodle's Career Services. Take care.